Welcome to Mindfulness Manufacturing. My name is Trevor Blondeel. Spending 25 years in manufacturing, I discovered the real impact we have on turnover, communication, and the ability to manage change is how we show up. That's the essence of emotional intelligence. In each episode, we bring a guest or message to expand your skills, engage your people, and grow your organization. So let's jump in. Part of mindfulness manufacturing is just kind of stepping back, taking a deep breath, and taking some knowledge in. And this is what you as a listener are going to get today. And we talk about wisdom and how do we develop that? What's the difference between that and knowledge? I had a random breakfast with Kevin Ward, and he is all about wisdom. And I got so much out of that breakfast, I started watching his LinkedIn Live. And then you know what happens? Hey, Kevin, can you come on our show and share this with our listeners? So Kevin, how did this all start?
Well, it's been an interesting journey, Trevor. The wisdom seeker part actually was an idea that occurred to me a couple of years ago. And then I had been toying with going live stream with it, and I'd already been on a live stream with a business partner, so thought, okay, well, I can do this solo. A little bit of trepidation there, but hey, you know, we try things out new. And I had been putting it off, and it was actually a life situation that really pushed me forward as I lost my brother November a year ago. And at that point, because he was a real input into my life, and I considered him one of my wise advisors. And I just felt really led that, okay, I need to do this thing. So January, the first Monday of January of 2021, 2021, I started the Wisdom Seeker Live podcast. Really excited to share. Really didn't have a big theme per se, other than we started off with a challenge that I challenged listeners with. Mm-hmm. And it was a simple 3-step exercise, and that was to disconnect from the noise in our life, take time while we're disconnected to observe, and then based on what we observe, seek out wisdom. One of the things that I encourage people is wisdom. We can stumble onto wisdom if we're paying just a little bit of attention, you know, every now and again. As the old saying, a blind squirrel finds an acorn every now and again. But if we really want to grow wise, it's an intentional process. It's something that we should do. And the more we do it, the more we gain, and the faster we get the wisdom, which hopefully part of the value of wisdom, among many things, is that it allows us to see life better, see life bigger, and see life and how it affects not just our own selves, but other people as well. And so that was kind of the kickstart for it. And most of the time, the episodes are just based on what I observe around me, what I observe on LinkedIn with my network. Mm-hmm. And I have to say it's based in spiritual pursuit. And so part of it's based on what I feel led to share. And the topics vary greatly because life varies greatly. So that's how it all got started.
Life does vary greatly. I love the intentionality, and this does tie right into the process. 3-step process: disconnect, take time to observe, seek out wisdom. So Kevin, this probably, you weren't doing this at the beginning of your career. So, and obviously you take in that knowledge because you've been doing this over your time, and now you're have this gift to help others with that. But what was the event, or what happened to you? What's your story on how you got to be intentional? Because there's many of us that go through life and never just really disconnect, and they never get off the speedway. How did you do that?
Yeah, we all tend to operate in autopilot. Wow, defining moments. A number of years ago, my background is in the construction arena. Had my own business, taught construction, and then worked for a construction nonprofit. And but the thing that kind of shifted my gears, if you will, changed the trajectory for me, was I went from having a construction business, and circumstances were such that, short version, I ended up in teaching high school construction students. And
Nice.
that was quite a leap for me because, first of all, I didn't like high school to start with and couldn't wait to get out. So it's kind of ironic that I would consider being a teacher. And then, people that know me go, wow, that was a leap. But really felt directed that that's what I needed to consider. So I moved into that. And what I discovered was that I really had a passion and a heart for it. And once I began to uncover that and discover that passion, it really changed things for me. And because I'd never had formal training as a teacher, I'd taught Sunday school, I'd taught my children different things. I had to become intentional or fail. And so I started that learning process for being an effective teacher. And then what along the way, part of the blessing of this whole defining moment was a new look at leadership. And so it started a process that moved me in that direction. And I started, the beginnings were to be intentional in applying that leadership as a teacher, which most people don't think of teachers as leaders, but any role where you're affecting and influencing lives of others is a leadership role.
Absolutely.
And that was a realization for me. And so after that, I became very much intentional in not only being a good teacher, but learning and applying principles of leadership. So that really is where it started. And ongoing, because I am intentional, it grows. I am recently did my live stream with my business partner. We're called perspectiveforce.com. And we were talking about digital detox. And really, it's kind of funny because I'm not in the youngest of the crowd. And so for me, most of my peers, digital is kind of I don't need that kind of thing, but I'm kind of unique in that I like digital. I'm a very functional in digital world. But what I started realizing is I've got to be intentional in managing that better, so that I can remain healthy as a person. And so each time, different periods of time in my life, the intentionality causes a new level of intentionality as I move forward. So
how did you know that we talk about the speedway and getting caught on the race trap, and then all of a sudden, you're having great success on LinkedIn and live, and all of a sudden it becomes the dopamine, the natural chemicals in our body pulls us. So
yeah.
And I could see you saying, hey, you know what? I didn't grow up with this, and I can put it down or pick it up. So how did you know that you were using it too much?
Well, it's funny because part of my mission, okay, I have a vision and a mission and some core values, and part of my mission is to reach out to people and try to influence and affect them in a good direction. And so as it began to build on itself, and when you become more present, if you will, on these platforms, it's easy to get drawn into them. And plus, I'm just naturally a curious person, love to learn, ask a lot of questions. And in fact, some people say, can you stop asking so many questions? But out of that curiosity, out of control, because there's so much on digital media that we can pick up. And so it's very easy to get pulled in and get out of control. And there's a certain irony, because one of the intentional choices I made is to not expose myself to constant news media because of the negative influence there. And so that part was under control, but I realized that some of the good aspects of digital media were getting a bit out of control as well. So I'm making choices now to make steps to bring it back to a manageable level, a healthy level for myself. And just starting that process fairly new.
So was it through that conversation through your colleague that you realized you're on it too much? But what triggered it?
Oh, it was during actually a live stream. Again, certain irony there. We were doing a live stream on digital detox, and it just started occurring to me, I'm sharing out to the audience what's going on. And as I'm sharing, and this is not uncommon, as I shared with people, talk with people, I'm, the fingers are pointing back at me. I'm hearing myself going, okay, if you're going to suggest this to others, you got to take it on board and be an example. I mean, that's part of being a leader, is if you can't live it by example, you need to question whether it's valid or not.
Yeah, I have found, I was just having a conversation yesterday. I said, my level of humility is at a whole new level. So to the point, even when I see people that maybe I haven't worked with in 10 years, I can notice a difference in you. So yeah, it's like the more I learn, the less that I know.
Definitely.
It's just so humbling. And then all of a sudden you catch yourself in that moment. Last night I was emailing with someone, and some miscommunication. And it's kind of like, okay, step back. What would you tell somebody else in this situation? Because right now I could feel myself starting to just feel in a way that I didn't like.
Right.
And it was like, okay, you tell people how to respond and emotions. And so it's like, okay, this is it. It's going on inside me now.
Yeah, that's right. Sometimes the challenge of being a teacher is listening to your own lessons and applying them. And that's one of the things that I like about teaching and training, is very often I learn as much as anybody in the process. It may not be a new concept to me, but it grows as far as nuancing and getting more refined in that area. And it really is of great value in that regard.
One of the things I was just writing about I was inspired from somebody else's work, was this window and mirror effect. And that when things are going well, it's like, yeah, Trevor's doing this. The podcast is going well, this, and it's nice to hold that mirror up to yourself, but that's the time where you need to look out the window and say, hey, it went well because of Kevin, the guest. It went well because I met with Tom and he gave me advice on how to do the podcast. That's why it went well. And when it doesn't go well, when Kevin and Tom have helped me, I need to use the mirror then and say, okay, so you're getting help. It's not going well. What are you not doing well? What are you not doing? What could you be doing different to support your team?
Yeah, I like the mirror analogy. And as we were talking before we started recording, I teach a leadership course. And one of the things that is a key part throughout this course is using the mirror. As a leader, if something goes wrong on your team, the first stop for any real leader is at the mirror. What did you not do well enough? Whatever. And it's an indication of taking full responsibility for your team. And a true leader, and to me, a true leader is a servant leader. And a servant leader, it always owns the responsibility for who they have following them or who's on their team. And when you take that level of responsibility, things become very different for you and the team in a good way.
Let's take it back to this. I love your 3-step process, but the disconnect one out of it seems to be the hardest. So you're helping. You were an owner of a construction company, and We work with them, we support them, and I'm the same way, kind of manufacturing, very similar.
Right.
And we have great people that have great intentions, and they're just so busy. When I say, "Hey, how's it going?" It's busy. I said,
Yeah.
"Well," so I have my line now is, and I had somebody laughing the other day. I said, I've never talked to someone in your role, and I said, "How's it going?" Well, you know what? It's really calm this week, and I just have some extra time,
Yeah.
and things are just really peaceful.
No pressure.
Yeah. So it's like, nobody says that to me. I'm always waiting for that moment when someone
Right.
says that. And how do we help those people that, if you're listening to this podcast, you're already way ahead of the game, because you've taken some time, you've already disconnected, you're observing, you're part of, we're talking with you as you're listening,
Right.
and you're seeking out wisdom. But there's some really successful people that, if they could just, and this was me, and the job is to serve our former self, and the mistakes that we made.
Right.
And I'm kind of like, I talked to this on the last podcast about helping the former Trevor. So what is your success, or where do you see it, Kevin, when you work with people, that you're able to help another person get grounded? How do you hold their hand and get them off that racetrack for a moment?
Well, I'm kind of simple kind of guy, and but I've learned the principle of vision. And a lot of us, the reason we're on autopilot is that we have not really given good consideration to what is our vision. And we think vision, mission, things like that only in the business world. But I am a person before I start working, and I'll be a person after I retire. And in my mind, business is a subset of life. And if that's the case, why do I not have a vision for my life? So I ask people, what is your vision? What drives you? What is your passion? Have you stopped to think about that? Some people have, they have dreams and their aspirations and things, but vision is something very different. And if we're going to begin to get directed and be more than just floating along, I want to do my 40 a week and make my annual payment or pay, and then build up and retire at some age. If that's all we're doing, we're going to be on autopilot, because circumstances are driving us at that point. And so one of the key things I say is, what is your vision? And most people kind of shrug their shoulders and go, I don't know. Others will say, oh, well, I want to be a millionaire by the time I'm 30. Okay, that's not a vision. That's a great goal. That's a fine goal if that's your thing.
Yes.
But a vision is something that will become the driving force in our life. It'll be our ultimate why. And when I talk about vision with people, I say it's got to become your North Star. And not everybody always understands that the North Star is for maritime operators. That is their navigation point all the time. Yeah, we've got all the radar and GPS and all that good stuff, but especially if something happens to that, an old sailor, an old maritime operator, he's going to find the North Star and look to that to figure out where they're at relative to where they need to be. And so I just really encourage people, find your vision. Not only find it, but be able to communicate it, because once we find that vision and we can start communicating that with others, then the people that need to be a part of what we're doing in our journey can come alongside, because they have some insight. And if they have been intentional and understand their vision, they're going, hey, that lines up with what I'm about. And that's how you start allowing people to come in that are going to be a support or a part of that vision, and you for them, and so on. So what's your vision?
You want to surround yourself with people with a similar vision.
Right.
So if I'm thinking of this, okay, maybe this is my vision. How do I know if it's a vision or a goal?
Well, it's an interesting thing. First of all, a vision you cannot achieve alone. Okay.
Mm,
If it's something that you can do by yourself, it's not a vision, it's a goal of some kind.
mm,
Second thing is a goal, a good goal should be measurable and attainable. Okay. A vision, you can measure it and you can move towards attainment, but if it's the way it should be, you won't get there because a vision is so much bigger than we are that it takes lots of different people and usually more than a lifetime. And so a vision has some of the elements of a goal, certainly, but it's so much bigger. For example, my vision is very simple, and that is to help everyone I can to find their potential and begin to live it. And it's taken a while for me to get that clear in my mind to be able to express it, but that's what I'm about. And as I look now at the things that I do, they all tie in one way or another to that vision. And now understand, in pursuit of our vision, life is rarely in straight lines. So you may zig, you may zag along the way, but your vision ultimately is where you come back to. And it's one of the things that helps me in these crazy times that we're in to stay anchored, is that having that vision and knowing that's what I need to be focused in. That's if it may take a left or a right, but ultimately, if I can't see that vision and as part of where I'm going, then I need to need to evaluate whether the what I'm about to do or what I'm doing is what I need to be doing.
Yeah, that makes sense. When you have to make hard decisions, you have that anchor, like you said, you go back to my anchor. How does this decision tie into my anchor? I was part of the reason why manufacturing, as well as it does pay 21% above the average industry,
Right.
it's not always the one that you feel the best when you leave. And I was part of the problem.
Right.
Because of, I watched some other leaders and kind of got rewarded when I actually got coached to be go in a little harder. And I could feel it in my soul that it was wrong. And I didn't feel good. And I knew I didn't make the other people feel good. I just thought this is what we needed to do. So I look at maybe this vision, and I don't know if that's too big or not, but it's like to have an impact on the manufacturing industry. So fathers want their daughters to go work there. And it's like, man, in manufacturing and construction, people are kind, and it's when people are clear, it's kind. And it just feels like, from my own standpoint, I felt like I didn't have another option.
Okay.
Like to get there faster, the results, I had to go be a little harder. And I think I was definitely playing a short game.
Okay.
And now it's kind of like, okay, if I could tell my former self to just slow down, connect with people. And so does that sound like a vision?
It sounds like you're on the right track. Ultimately, the place you want to be with a vision is you meet someone in the elevator.
Yeah.
And I'm going back to the old elevator speech.
Oh yeah.
That in a minute they say, what do you do? Who are you? In a minute, you can with clarity say, this is what I'm about.
Yeah.
And not my job that I do, not my this or that. It's what I am about, who I am and where I'm going with it, and be able to express it succinctly. For me, it took a while to work through it. The concept was in my head, and but it took a while for me to finally get to a point where I could get it clearly and express it clearly. And so it sounds like you're moving in a direction. And what I would do is just write it down a bit, talk with others around you, ask them, what does this tell you? How does it conjure up? Because ultimately, the principle of vision is also being able to cast your vision, is the term. And if I cast my vision and it's someone that should be involved in what I do, it should connect with them more than just a normal connection. Others, it should pique some curiosity. They should go, well, okay, tell me more. But if we can get it out there and express it well, the people that need to be involved with us one way or another, supporting us, whatever, will go, that's part of what I'm doing. I need to get engaged there.
And I know that I'm not there. And it's because it's been years I've been working on it. And it's just, we just keep waking up every day knowing it's going to be a great day. You're going to learn something. It's early in the morning here, and I've already gotten some vision from and wisdom from you, Kevin.
Oh, thank you.
Because it is true. And for the listener, what is your vision? And it doesn't matter what your role is, or like you said, the teacher is definitely a leader, but I believe, like, every time we impact someone, we meet someone, we're impacting them, we're leading. We're how you show up is affecting how people feel. And last thing I want to ask is the core values is one that I've been using a lot lately on decisions, and I really, presence and authenticity are kind of my two. We do exercises and some of the workshops on that. So what are your core values, Kevin?
Core values, first and foremost, is my faith. And if someone wants me to do something that's going to violate my faith, regardless of the consequence, I'm going to say, no disrespect, but no thank you. Not going to happen. That is an essential core value. As part of that core value is also core value of love. And I know, especially among construction and manufacturing people, they're going, oh no, you're going that direction. You're going to be suggesting group hugs and stuff. No, love is my core value, is based in the Bible, and it's not what we think of it today. It's a choice, and it's a choice primarily centered around selflessness. And so love is part of that core value system. Other core values and how they are expressed are part of the tenets of my faith. Beyond that, I don't think anything else is so essential that I can't flex and grow. For me, a core value is something that will not change. You're not going to talk me out of it or into something else, or as a result, the old question, well, if you had $1 million to do this, would you? Well, if it violates my core values, I don't care if it's $10 million, it's not happening.
Yeah, those are pretty powerful ones. And I hear what you're saying with the love, but we do need more love in manufacturing, because there's enough anxiety and stress. And when people believe that you're coming from a place of love, and love can just be like, you're another person, and I care about people, and I'm not going to make decisions that are going to impact my core value. And it's bigger than me. It's about everybody else. And that whole thing, when you help others, good things come. And just like you, I sat down at breakfast, and right away you started asking questions, and you could just tell you have that persona of just open arms, Kevin. And so thank you for living your life that way. And your brother would be very proud of what you're doing today. So what's the last thing you leave the listeners with today, Kevin? Bring it home.
Seek wisdom. Okay. Wisdom is better than money. It's better than pleasures. It's better than a lot of things. The value and beauty of wisdom is that when you seek it and gain it, the other things come as part of it. But seek wisdom. And if you don't mind, I'm going to share what wisdom is based on the Wisdom Seeker podcast. And that is, it's a journey. It's a 3-step process. You got to get some knowledge, and I appreciate that. Second step is understanding. Okay, I've got this information in my head, so what can I do with it? What should I do with it? And so you start applying it, get experience. But the major step is the 3rd step, and that is going into wisdom. And that's when we begin to take what we know, what we experience and understand, and see it outside of ourselves. we see it bigger picture. We see how it affects not just me, but others around me. And for what I share with my audience is, as a spiritual person, the way I like to express it is my goal is to see everything I can through God's eyes. When I can do that, my perspective changes, my values are in line, and even my vision becomes very clear at that point. So seek wisdom. Too many of us think that when we get knowledge, we got power. No, power isn't in knowledge. Power is in gaining wisdom and how to use it. So seek wisdom.
Thanks so much, Kevin. Hey, for the listeners, check out the show notes. We're going to have connections to Kevin to find out more. Have a great day. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity, Trevor.
Hey, folks, appreciate you taking the time to join us today. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone. Haven't subscribed yet? Do it now. Remember, if you want results, the key is increasing your awareness of how you show up.